Hey, thank you guys for tuning in to Ray Hall Talking College Ball. I'm your host, Ray Hall. This is where we talk college ball every week. Today we're going to do 11 game breakdowns, nothing crazy, kind of brief breakdowns for some of the biggest games and other games I just want to touch on. Then towards the end, I'm going to give you 14 picks for the weekend. Going to need to go to at least 8-7 or 8-6 for a productive weekend. So if we can get that, we're in the green. Hopefully anything above that is gravy at this point. But if you know me, I'm a volume wagerer, and that's kind of my stance on it. A lot of people are like, oh, if I only have to pick 3 games right to be profitable, that works for them. I look at it as like, oh, I get 6 losses to be profitable. Awesome. Because this game is so unpredictable. It's why we love it. It's why we enjoy it. It's why we do it. So I like to give myself those built-in, like, didn't see that coming. Maybe should have. So that's where I'm at with that. Feel free to take all 14. Feel free to take 0 of them. Hopefully, if you do, you send out a message. Hopefully, I win you money. You can send me a thank you via Twitter on RayHall_TCB. Send a nice little thank you. I'm not asking for any of the proceeds or profits or anything like that. Just be like, hey, saw the show, got the picks, appreciate it, thanks. Also, if you have the chance, like, subscribe, send a comment. I do look on the earlier episodes in the week. I'm going to try to get to the comments that are left over the videos so that you guys can get your questions answered by me, my personal opinion. I'm not some insane insider where I have this knowledge. It's just kind of how I view the game of college football. So with all that being said, let's get into the big game breakdown, as we like to call them. First one we're going to talk about is Oklahoma hosting Ole Miss. Oklahoma's laying 4.5, total set at 56.5. I think this game's pretty simple. If you want to see what side it's going to go, is if it goes over, it's going to be Ole Miss. If it goes under, it's probably going to be Oklahoma. There's a chance, obviously, for either team to pull out the win if it goes either other way. But in my opinion, I think Oklahoma wants to keep this game low scoring. I think they can with that defensive line. They've been talked about a lot. Probably the best defensive line that Ole Miss will face all week or all year. Definitely the best one they'll face all week. I can probably guarantee that, unless Ole Miss's scout team is just absurd and I don't know about it. But the thing is Trinidad Chambliss has done great under pressure. Now, when you're sending pressure, that means you're dropping less guys in coverage, so there's more chances for big plays. Lane Kiffin's offense is kind of known for putting defensive backs in a bind to begin with, so that's probably why he's been very productive under pressure. But Oklahoma is able to generate it with just the 4 up front. So that's going to be the key matchup, especially when those sides of the ball are out there for the respective teams. I think when it goes to Oklahoma's offense, are they going to try and run the ball? In games past, they haven't even attempted to it because the run game has just been it's been obsolete basically all year. Outside of QB design runs, they really haven't gotten anything going. But I also think that Pete Golding's a good enough defensive coordinator. Ole Miss is a good enough team where if you make him Oklahoma's offense one-dimensional, they can definitely take advantage of that. I wouldn't say they're stellar on the defensive side of the ball, but they're kind of under that bend, don't break, very opportunistic on that side of the ball, so they can create some turnovers, which John Mateer in the past has been known to do. A lot of people might say, like, oh, he hasn't turned the ball over that much. Obviously, the Texas game seems like an outlier stats-wise, but if you have watched the games, you see that the turnovers were always there. The defense just didn't take advantage of it. So if Ole Miss can take advantage of putting John Mateer in these tough decisions or making him confused back there, I think they can create some momentum for them on that side of the ball. And then plus, it kind of plays into what I'm saying. If Ole Miss is able to turn them over, there's going to be short fields, which will lead to more points for Lane Kiffin's offense. And you'll hear every commentator say it, but when you see those turnovers happen, expect Lane Kiffin the next play to take a deep shot. That's kind of what he is. The big question that people have, though, is Lane Kiffin focusing way too much on the Florida opening. That's a possibility. I think Lane's been around long enough and been a hot name so many separate times that he kind of knows how to deal with this. But the Florida job is definitely, it's his for the taking if he wants it. He wears the visor for Steve Spurrier. He obviously has some type of tie to that program. He's a tie to this area when his dad was a defense coordinator for the Buccaneers. So he probably feels very familiar with that area, but I think he's able to focus on this, especially with this team after last year being disappointing. I think he's able to make sure the main thing is the main thing, unless they're playing Washington State. But, I mean, Washington State some people, they took Virginia to the wire last week. Some people are saying they're a little underranked for what they should be. I think they have them right now around like the 95th team. They're definitely top 75, so we'll have to see about that. Moving forward, this probably is the biggest game in everyone else's eyes. I put Ole Miss, Oklahoma first, but A&M at LSU. So everyone's heard the stat now at this point. 20-1, Brian Kelly with the Tigers at Tiger Stadium at night. That one being the loss to Alabama last year where Jalen Milroe had a field day. Marcel Reed isn't the exact same type of player as Jalen Milroe. I think he's a little bit better of a passer and not as big and strong and like as a bruiser in the run game. But he's definitely dynamic, and I'm not sure if those dual threat quarterback woes that the Tiger defense had last year under Baker have completely gone away. As you can see, Diego Pavia kind of tore him up last week, handing them a loss. So possibly Marcel Reed can do some of the same thing. The real question for this game, though, is LSU's offense going to show up? A&M's defense has been subject to giving up points to, I wouldn't say like great offenses, but solid offenses. Like if you're competent and you know what you have a plan back there and you know what you're doing, you can definitely get the A&M defense. I don't know if LSU falls under that criteria of being a competent offense that has a plan and knows what they're doing. If I'm LSU's offense, I think I need 6 plays that I've perfected and repped this week where I'm like, yep, these are plays that can get us down the field, get us big plays, maybe even spur for a touchdown, and those are what I'm focusing on. Everything else you kind of, I don't want to say neglect, but at this point you're week 8 into the season, you know what your offense is, and it's not a good offense for LSU. So that's why they need to focus on really developing 6 or 8 plays that they can just go to and be like, yep, we got the look we want, we got the personnel we want, we're going to take advantage of this. Nuss is healthier, which is awesome to see. You never want to see a quarterback playing injured and limiting their game. You want to see these guys at the best, but their offensive line is still banged up. And A&M, if there is a strength on their defense, it's their ability to get after the passer. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I don't really have a lean one way or the other. When I first saw the line kind of screamed, take the Aggies, right? And it's changed in the past couple of years because sports gambling has become such I don't want to say a common thing, but it is a common thing. It seems like everyone you know at least pays attention to it in some way or the other. Originally, back 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago, going back, when they would put lines out like this, where you see like the number 4 ranked team or 3 ranked team in this case in the nation only getting 2 points against LSU, who has looked awful and was coming off of a loss. That's kind of to get, I don't want to say the dummies out there, but lack of a better term, the dummies or the noobs or anything like that, the squares, to be like, oh gosh, I'm taking Texas A&M. 2.5 points. I got to win by a field goal. And the sharp money would usually be on the other side of that. And you would see basically a lot of money come in, a lot of public money come in on the Aggies, but the line wouldn't change. And that's another indicator for that. I haven't seen the money breakdown yet. So I'm not saying, hey, this is smart money or sharp money or anything like that. But that's just kind of my feel when I first saw it. So, but I don't feel comfortable taking 2.5 points with LSU, even if it is in Tiger Stadium at night. All right. Moving to the next game we're going to go over is Mizzou at Vanderbilt. If you listen to a lot of college football media, people that cover this game have been saying these two teams are almost identical. Run-first offenses, dual-threat quarterbacks, coaches that get everything out of their roster that are exceeding kind of their expectations, coaches that are being floated around there for bigger jobs, and defenses that aren't great but aren't terrible. The main thing for this in a game that with two even teams in my mind is going to be ball security. These teams like to run the football, so if you can limit the interceptions specifically, because there's not going to be a lot of pass attempts in there. So if you're not turning the ball over in that case, then I think you have a good chance to win. I think it really comes down to, though, which quarterback makes the most back-breaking plays. And when I say back-breaking plays, I mean like, okay, 3rd and 8, the pressure's going to get home, and he steps up in the pocket and finds a guy down the field, or he runs for the first down. whoever quarterback can do that is going to win this game. And I like Diego Pavia in this situation just on that side. I think Mizzou's just a better team, though. Their defensive line is very, very good. It might be, I would say it's a top 3 SEC defensive line, probably a top 15 in the country. Easily would say top 15 in the country, and probably top 3 defensive line in the SEC. So if they can create pressure, not let Pavia escape, not make it easy on him, and maybe force him to make some bad decisions, then I think Mizzou can come out with a win here. Next thing we're going to talk about is BYU at Iowa State. This line has changed a little bit. It's around 3.5, 2.5, whatever you're seeing, but it has Iowa State favored. You have to think there's going to be an emotional letdown for BYU after the Holy War last week. Great win versus Utah. Kind of played Utah's game, or the game that Utah has been known to play, and beat them at it. But with the freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier, who's exceeded expectations this year and has a chance to be the first 8-0 quarterback since Trevor Lawrence, I think you can look at, all right, is the freshman in him going to come out? And then you look at the other side of the ball, and you have the savvy vet, at least in college football, Rocco Beck, where you feel good if your team needs a score and time's running down and he has the ball. Iowa State's defense has been littered with injuries, so that's obviously been kind of affecting their slide, but they've lost the last 2 and they had a bye week last week, so it's been 3 weeks, a little bit over 3 weeks since they've had a win. You got to think that Matt Campbell is a good enough coach and Rocco Beck in this situation to keep this game respectable. I'm not sure if they should be favored, but I don't think the line should be BYU more than a field goal. Iowa State's health is just really the big thing. I think BYU is going to be able to run the ball on them. I think BYU is going to be able to play their game. It's just that Iowa State is going to have to be very, very productive in the limited drives they're going to get in this game. So that's kind of where I'm feeling right now. I think Iowa State's going to right the ship, but I'm not 100% sure. Next game I want to cover, it's not really a big game matchup. It's not 2 ranked teams. The brand names in college football aren't the biggest, but it's UCLA at Indiana, and I want to cover it because UCLA, in some people's eyes, are 3-0 this season. And I mean, I think the 3-0 in Big Ten play, they're definitely 3-0 since they made the head coaching change. And I really like what they've done, and it seems like they're not taking too much pressure, and they're kind of making football fun for their players in the sense of like, hey guys, let's go out there, let's try to do what we do best, let's just work on our stuff, and then if we win, we win. But let's just not be in this depressed state that we were at the beginning of the year after dropping our non-conference games, one of which to UNLV. So I think there was another group of 5 team in there that it was a very unimpressive showing by UCLA. I want to cover this game because can UCLA keep the miracle going? Sig and the Hoosiers last week had, I would say, a relatively slow start, and Michigan State kind of scored in the first drive against them. They answered right away, but it is back-to-back, I don't want to say letdown spots, but kind of like, all right, we should be able to roll out our second string and beat these guys. At least that's what the point spread's telling you. I'm expecting there's going to be some types of tricks that UCLA is going to try. If you're 25.5-point underdogs, you're going to have to know that you have to turn the field upside down to try to get stay in this game and keep it close. But I think Indiana, Coach Cignetti, he's been a big favorite or a part of programs that have been big favorites a large amount of time. So I think he knows how to handle this. I think Indiana's going to have this game over by halftime. But we'll see. Maybe I can be surprised. Next thing we're going to go to is Alabama at South Carolina. Alabama just got through the gauntlet that they had. 4 straight ranked opponents, 2 of which were on the road, and they went 4-0. Can they go 5-0? I mean, the hype around this game isn't anywhere near where it's been for the previous 4 games. But South Carolina played them really close last year. They recovered an onside kick, had a Hail Mary attempt that was picked off, but still had an attempt with the ball with the time on the clock to take the lead. South Carolina's season hasn't gone well. It's definitely some people are picking them for the playoffs. Some people even picking them to go to Atlanta for the SEC championship. fewer people, but still people out there had him winning the SEC, had Lenore Sellers being a Heisman favorite. If you looked at what they lost, I never really bought into that. But there's still talent on this team. And what is a better way to fix a season or at least save a season or be able to hang your hat on something than beating a top 5 ranked team at your own place and a team especially with a big brand name as Alabama. I think it'll be a good test for Bama's defense with the dual threat quarterback. I do worry about the Gamecocks getting a signature win here. I'm probably not going to touch this point total or this spread. I think I'm going to touch the total. I'm going to go under here. I think if there's a chance that South Carolina wins this game, it has to be a low-scoring game. And I think if Alabama takes an early lead, I can see them kind of, I don't want to say lighting up on them, but hey, they have the bye week next week. We just got through this gauntlet. Let's make sure no one gets hurt. Let's sit on this lead. Their staff has been pretty awesome if you look at controlling tempo and pace to help out their defense, especially on the offense side of the ball, but also just really controlling the game speed. So I'm leaning under on that. Next I'm going to cover, there's bigger games out there, but I want to cover this one. It's going to be USF at Memphis. Memphis is plus 4.5 at home. Obviously, there's some questions right now about who's going to start at quarterback for Memphis. Is it going to be Brendan Lewis? Is it going to be the freshman A.J. Hill? What are they going to do? Memphis coach, Coach Silverfield, said they might do a 3-quarterback set out there. So I think he's keeping it close to his chest about who is actually going to play this Saturday. If you look at the standings in the American, there's actually not a better team that Memphis could have lost to in UAB. It's not going to really cause any problems for head-to-head tiebreakers, at least. If there is a bunch of one-loss, like if there's a jam log of one-loss teams for the American to see who gets into the championship. But I think USF is just Alex Golish did not seem to care about the outside noise of him being a name for these big Power 4 jobs. I think USF is going to roll here. And I think Brendan Lewis is going to play. I think you would have had more indication that he was not going to play based off this line and the total. But I do like points in this game. So if I'm picking a side, I wouldn't pick one. I'd probably pick USF, but I'm going to lean the over on this one. All right, next game. Kansas State at Kansas. Kansas opened as 2.5-point favorites. I think they're now up to 3.5. So obviously a lot of money coming in on the Jayhawks. If you look at these teams, it's kind of the same question, like what could have been for these teams. High expectations, not as much Kansas this year, even though Jalen Daniels has stayed healthy for the entirety of the year, which has been a nice, pleasant surprise, especially as someone who enjoys watching him run that offense and also taking Kansas overs. But for Kansas State, kind of the implosion they had after that Week 0 loss in Ireland, it seems like they've righted the ship. They're not rolling over now, but this matchup features two of the best coaches in college football that don't get the respect or spotlight that they deserve, but just disappointing years overall. I'm excited to watch this game because I think it's going to be fun. Whenever you have Avery Johnson and Jalen Daniels on the field, it's obviously they don't face off against each other directly, but it's going to be a fun game for them to watch. Dynamic quarterbacks that can make plays with their arms and legs, fun offenses, not your traditional, more so traditional like professional offenses, but very like good, awesome college offenses to watch. I'm hoping for points in this game. That's really what it comes down to. I'm going to root this game. I'm taking the over in this game, which I'll read off my full picks list for the sides I'm taking later. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm taking points in this game. All right, next game we're going to cover is Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas is laying 2.5 at home. Can Petrino put the final nail in the coffin for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers? I think I saw a quote, and it might have been an AI article, so if I got duped, I got duped. But I remember reading it basically saying that Hugh Freeze would have liked to see or would be appreciative to see words of encouragement or support from the Auburn athletic director. I'm not sure if he ever got those. I'm not sure if he actually even requested those, but it's not good in Auburn right now. I think Taylor Green's going to be able to will this team to victory. I don't think they're going to get this high scoring output that you've seen the past couple of weeks from the Arkansas offense, but I do think you'll see some amazing plays from Taylor Green. It's kind of unfortunate. I don't want to say he's been wasted at Arkansas, but kind of wasted at Arkansas. If you've seen a previous video, I refer to Arkansas as the 2023 LSU Tigers, the great value brand of those, because there's just no defense whatsoever, but just a stellar offense, fun offense to watch. Jackson Arnold has been a huge disappointment, and it's kind of leading Hugh Freeze down this road of being fired. Is because he's supposed to be the quarterback guru. He's picked his guys from the transfer portal. You can say Peyton Thorne wasn't his guy, it's kind of like the best they had, but he picked Jackson Arnold and he paid them a lot of money, and it hasn't produced the way they wanted, nowhere close to the way they wanted. So you got to think that's probably the biggest contributing factor, not really as much as the losses. I feel like if Auburn was putting up points and these unfortunate calls were happening, and that's why they were losing games, okay, maybe Hugh Freeze would have some leeway. But I think since they're losing games, the offense isn't producing, they're kind of looking at him like, all right, man, what do you do here? Like, why did we hire you? Why are we paying you this money? All right, next thing we're going to talk about is Illinois at Washington. Washington is home favorites, laying 4.5. I was high on Washington going into the season. I was high on them last week against Michigan. I thought they'd be able to keep it a lot closer than what it was, definitely, but also put up points and only scoring 7. I know they've been having some early game struggles, but their offense just never got started against Michigan. And Michigan has a solid defense, but holding that group, Boston, Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman to only 7 points, that's an impressive feat for them, but I also think the offense just was not clicking that day. And you can really tie that up to Damon Williams turning the ball over 3 times. So I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game, though. I think Washington's going to play better at home. I think Illinois is going to have to answer. I'm not really confident in either of the defenses. Both are kind of banged up. But you got to ask yourself, is Jedd Fisch getting distracted with his name being floated around for these bigger jobs? I'm not sure if he ever people will probably argue this. Go ahead, but I'm not sure he ever really loved the Washington job. I think he kind of viewed it as his next stepping stone out of the, I don't want to say lower of the Power 2, but lower of the Power 4 teams, Big 12, into a Power 4 job, or Power 2 job as people like to refer to it, in Washington, get him into a seat at the big boy table, and now with these other jobs opening up, he's looking to bounce again. So that'll be something to watch. Illinois, though, I don't think it's been a disappointing season. I think it's just kind of a come back down to earth season for them. They're clear cut in the second group of Big Ten teams. Everyone always had the tiers they want to do, but I think they're the best of that second group. So I'm leaning Illinois in this game, but I think I'm really just going to look at the total there if I had to pick it. And the last game I want to cover is Baylor at Cincinnati. Bearcats are 4.5-point favorites. I think the lines might be down to 3.5, so money coming in on the Bears. I love Baylor in this position. They kind of need a win. Sawyer Robinson, he might be the best quarterback in, I think Sawyer Robertson, he might be the best quarterback in college football, but just doesn't get the shine. He's going to be a great draft prospect. I think a lot of people are going to compare him to Justin Herbert when he actually goes into the draft. But some of the throws he makes, some of the plays he makes, he's going to be at least a highly touted draft prospect, in my opinion. Cincinnati might get tripped up here. The Big 12 and obviously Cincinnati fans are hoping they don't. Cincinnati remaining on this streak they have is really the only chance that the Big 12 can get 2 teams in. But I don't see that happening. I would like to see Dave Aranda's defense get fixed because he is the defensive guru, the defensive coach, and the defense has not been showing up as of late. But I think Sorsby, after the opening game against Nebraska, he threw that kind of, I don't want to say Hail Mary, but kind of like F it, someone's down their throw. When they are driving against Nebraska to take the lead, I believe, or at least tie it up. I think they kick a field goal to tie it up, and then a touchdown would have won them the game. He threw a go ball when he didn't have to, try to force an issue. But after that, he's really improved and grown. I like what he's added to his game. He's becoming a more polished passer. He's always been an athlete in the backfield, but now you can kind of see him a little bit more comfortable running the offense and finding the open guy. So I think there's going to be points in this game too. Maybe that's a problem. I see a lot of points in a lot of games, but the architect of college football games nowadays are lower scoring, and maybe my brain hasn't adjusted to that yet. But those are really the 11 games I wanted to cover. So moving forward, I'm just going to go into my picks for this week. Kind of hinted at a couple of them, so we're just going to run down the line. Baylor plus 3.5. Like I said, I love the Bears in this situation. I think they need a win. I think Dave Aranda is going to get the team pumped up, and I think their offense is going to roll. It is a hard offense to slow down. Arkansas minus 2.5. I think Hugh Freeze's players are going to quit on him towards the second half, especially if it's some of the unfortunate officiating luck hits them again. I think they're just going to be like, well, we're screwed. Like, this team's cursed. Like, we can't do this. And then I have it at 52.5 right now, so I misspoke earlier, but I'm going to take the Oklahoma Ole Miss over 52.5. I kind of said if the game goes over, I favor Ole Miss in this game. I still think there's more opportunities for the game to go over in Oklahoma to win and cover. So that's why I'm going over 52.5. Like I said, I think there's going to be short fields, though. So that's why I'm taking those points. Cal plus 6.5 on Friday night. Some people may call me crazy for this. They're traveling across the country. Luckily, it's not affecting them too much in the sense of their biological clocks. It will, but they're still going to be able to, it's what time that game starts is not some absurd time that it would be in California. And Virginia Tech has outperformed since they fired their coach. But in all honesty, I think Cal is just a better program, and I like what they got going down there. Syracuse plus 16.5 against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech just likes to play close games. I don't think you can really lay 16.5 for this team. They may prove me wrong. Go up 24-0 in the first half. I know Syracuse is having some problems on the offensive side of the ball, especially with Angeli all banged up. But I still think Fran Brown's a really good coach, and he's going to be able to keep this game close and at least keep it under a three-score game. Next game is Kansas State plus 3.5 versus Kansas. I just think it's a rivalry game. It's going to stay close. Avery Johnson definitely has cooled off. I kind of had him as a Heisman dark horse in the season. If you took that ticket, I'm sorry, because you can throw it in the trash now and burn it, use it for fire starter. But I like Kansas State keeping this close. I think like I said, these two teams have two of the best coaches in college football. I think this will be a well-fought, entertaining, fun game. USF Memphis over 58.5. I alluded to this earlier. I'm going to take the over in this game. I think if USF takes a heavy lead and is easily covered, I don't see them taking the foot off their gas. I still think Alex Golish is like, okay, we need style points. You saw it against the North Texas team. He did not let up. So that offense, it's hard. You can't really take your foot off the gas in that offense since it's so tempo-based. It's big play dependent. So when you take your foot off the gas when you're running an offense like that, that's when teams have the opportunity to come back into the game. Minnesota plus 9.5, playing Iowa rivalry game, trophy game, just like I think 85% of the games in the Big Ten are, especially with the original teams. I don't know how you can confidently lay 9.5 points against a Power 4 team. If you're Iowa, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not even sure if they're going to score 10 points in the game. But Minnesota, obviously, there's a chance for a letdown after a big win against Nebraska. I think P.J. Fleck is one of the most slept-on coaches in college football. I'm surprised his name has not been brought up more for some of these openings. Maybe he's just content and happy at Minnesota, and that kind of fits his archetype of what he wants his program to be. But that does surprise me. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Iowa State minus 2.5. The line really is what did it to me. I'm not betting the game as much as I am betting the line. I think if you have Iowa State and you're laying 2.5 points with them, you obviously have these teams power rated very differently after what has been occurring this season. So I'm taking Iowa State and laying the 2.5. Then I don't need the points in Nashville. Give me Mizzou money line. I think Eli Drinkwitz is looking at these teams, like I said, they're very even. I just think Eli Drinkwitz is a lot further along with his program than Clark Lee is. This is the back-to-back weeks where Vanderbilt is favored against another ranked team, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to handle the success. Next pick I'm doing is under 47.5 in the South Carolina-Alabama game. I already told you how I feel about that one. I think if South Carolina keeps it close, it's going to stay under. Not going to be a high-scoring game, and I think Alabama is going to sit on a lead if they jump out to one and just try and get into the bye week as quick as possible. Next game is Mississippi State plus 7.5 against Texas. I don't feel confident with Texas at all, especially in a game where they're laying a touchdown on the road in an environment like Mississippi State has with all the cowbells. So I'm going with the Bulldogs there. Then another rivalry game that's not in rivalry week, but Michigan State plus 14.5 against Michigan. This could be a signature win or game for the Michigan program this year. They keep it close. They keep it competitive. I don't know. Maybe also, I've said it a lot, but a kind of letdown spot for Michigan after a big win against Washington. But I think Michigan State's going to be able to keep it close. And then finally, the late night game, Houston plus 7.5 against Arizona State. Houston just seems terribly, terribly like underrated in a sense. Willie Fritz is a great head coach. Connor Wigman isn't the star that we thought he was going to be, at least the recruiting programs thought he was going to be with all the 5 stars next to his name. But I think he's running the offense very well there. Houston's defense has been pretty stingy this year. A lot of people disagree with me on this. That Texas Tech game, I think people say like, oh, Texas Tech could have won by 100. I looked at it and I was like, yeah, Houston probably could have kept this close, though. They had some pretty unfortunate turnovers, especially early on in the game, that kind of let the game blow open for Texas Tech early. And then I think Connor Wegman came out of the game. I'm not sure if it was injury or if they just benched him and want to keep him healthy, but I think that game could have looked a lot different if Houston kind of got out of the start they wanted, or at least they didn't get the start that they absolutely did not want. But yeah, that's my rundown for Week 9. We're about halfway through the season now. I know there's not 18 weeks in the season, but if you look at some of these records for these teams, they're all at about 6 games or 7 games. So we kind of know the identities of teams a little bit more. So hopefully it's a productive week. 9-5 would be amazing. 10-4 would be awesome. Anything above that, holy crap. But hey, 8-6, that's our floor. Let's try and go 8-6, still be profitable, still be in the green. Appreciate you guys tuning into the episode tonight. Like I said in the beginning of the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll try to get to those comments in an earlier week video. Answer any questions you guys have. Follow me on X at RayHall_TCB, and appreciate your time.